Imagine a world much like our own. A place with vast oceans, vibrant plant life, and creatures that might seem familiar at first glance. But this world is not Earth. With each step in its development, evolution took a slightly different turn. Every subtle change, every twist in its divergent history, cascaded into a vastly different ecosystem, where unexpected forces shape the life that calls it home. On this world, the intelligent mind did not bloom in the forest, but returned from the sea. Welcome to Vhar.
Hi everyone, I'm Michael Whitebrook, a debut science fantasy author, and I'm excited to introduce you to the world I've created for my upcoming novel, Poisoned Past, releasing in the second half of 2025. This video series will take you deep into Vhar, an alternate world with its own peoples, creatures, and magic systems. I'll be sharing not just what makes this world unique, but also the thought process behind my world-building decisions. Expect a blend of fantasy, natural history, and some very speculative evolution. Now, without further ado, let's get into it. First, the fundamentals. Like Earth, Vhar is an ocean world, but taken to the extreme. While Earth's surface is 71% water, Vhar is even more dominated by its seas, with land mass accounting for only 10 to 15%, depending on the season. As you might expect, a world dominated by water presents very different evolutionary pressures, shaping life in ways unlike Earth. Take Vhar's vegetation. With little land, rocky terrain, and salty soil, trees never became as abundant. That's not to say that Vhar's land isn't green. Its plant life merely evolved differently. The flora tends to be shorter, with fewer branches. And with two suns casting light from different angles throughout the seasons, there's less competition for sunlight, removing one of the main drivers for the vertical growth we see in Earth's forests. This difference created an evolutionary ripple effect. Fewer trees means fewer creatures evolving for life among the branches. No need for grasping hands or swinging limbs to navigate dense canopies. It means that, unlike on Earth, apes never evolved. And no apes means no Homo sapiens. Instead, Vhar had the perfect conditions for another mammal to take the center stage, one that we know to be one of the most intelligent animals on Earth. Our very own good boys of the sea, dolphins. Like on Earth, Vhar's dolphins evolved from fish that took to land, then retreated back to the ocean, eventually becoming waterbound mammals. But there was one big difference. On Vhar, dolphins did not dominate the high seas like they did on Earth. In our natural history, the cetacean ancestors were impressive predators at the apex of the food chain, allowing them to roam and thrive across the open sea. But Vhar's oceans weren't so easily conquered. Its depths, as vast as the sky is high, have always been home to leviathans of monstrous proportions. On Vhar, dolphins had good reason to stick to the shallows. And so, like our ape ancestors descending from the trees in search of food, Vhar's dolphins left the high seas and headed back to land, seeking food and safety in the watery marshes and shorelands. Across many generations, they adapted to their new environment. First to life in the shallows, and finally making their grand return to land. Albeit this time in a very different form. Now hold out for a moment. You may think I'm taking some creative liberty here, and sure, there's some of that. But dolphins growing limbs isn't as crazy as it sounds. Remember that Earth's dolphins once walked the land on 4 limbs before evolving into the form they inhabit today. In fact, they still carry the genetic baggage from that change, since they've developed hind limbs during their embryonic stage, even if these only last for 2 weeks of their development. They're even born with whiskers, for that matter, typically lost after a few laps around the bay. Then there's the bone structure of their flippers. Its layout is similar to our hands, since they once developed from the same ancestors. And if evolution can work in one direction, why not the other? There have already been documented sightings of dolphins with hook-like thumbs, a genetic anomaly, but that's precisely how evolution begins. Now that I've properly freaked you out, let's return to Vhar. Eventually, these land-walking dolphins began to stand upright, developing into the intelligent species known as the Nazril. Their religion, the Law of Balance, calls this their elevated form, for it bestowed them with 2 divine blessings. The first was granted to all their people, the blessing of sapience, allowing them to understand and shape the world around them. The second blessing awakened only in a chosen few, the blessing of water. This divine boon granted the ability to gaze into the plane of water and channel its power into creation. Some of these blessed became callers, powerful mages who could shape liquids into spells and weapons of unyielding ice. Others became harnessers, arcane craftsmen who could infuse watery materials into enchantments, creating wonders unlike anything found in nature. Armed with these blessings of intelligence and magic, the Nazril quickly came to dominate Vhar as we did our Earth. They engaged in agriculture, herded livestock, and began to trade amongst each other. Their villages grew into cities, which bloomed into great island empires that sprawled across the breadth of the land. And with their homes, so too grew their wars, from small tribal skirmishes to nation-scale conquests of sword and ice. Vhar is a world steeped in blood, mystery, and wonder. Its empires have risen to staggering heights, only to be shattered by war, time, or their own ambitions. Yet some still endure, thriving against all odds, shaped by magic and conflict alike. But Vhar isn't the only realm where life took hold. Beyond the tears in the elemental planes lie countless other worlds, worlds where animals too were raised to consciousness. Not all were dolphins, and the Nazril are far from the only ones to have mastered the elements. But that is a tale for another time. Thank you for joining me for this introduction to Vhar. Next time, we'll explore the diverse subspecies of Nazril that inhabit Vhar today, each with their own unique way of life. You'll meet the stocky Zizan, master craftsmen who formed a deep kinship with Vhar's beasts, the navy-skinned Knoka, whose bodies have evolved for deep-sea diving and uncovering the ocean's secrets, and the formidable Vikrali, whose warrior traditions have protected Vhar from invasion for generations. Of course, we'll also meet the orca-based Blackfins, who love nothing more than sharing their culture. If you've enjoyed this glimpse into my world, please like and subscribe. It helps me know if I'm on the right track. And if you'd be so kind, please share your feedback in the comments. Or maybe something about your own world building. I always love to read about other people's projects. For those interested in fantasy creatures and speculative evolution, I'm starting a monthly newsletter featuring new creatures from my worlds in a kind of dossier style. The sign-up link is in the description. It'll take you to my website where you can snoop around to your heart's content. Here you can find the teaser blurb for my upcoming novel Poison Past, and its cover, but it's still work in progress, just saying. That's all from me today. I hope you had fun. Take care and see you in the next one. Bye.